The day I opened that bank account, my world shattered. The money I'd spent 6 years saving for my son's future. Gone. Stolen by the woman I trusted most. She didn't just leave me. She abandoned our boy for another man. But while I was drowning in anger, my 10-year-old son whispered something chilling. "Don't worry, Dad. I'll fix everything." The betrayal changes people in ways they never expect. Have you ever faced a moment that forced you to choose between forgiveness and justice? Share your thoughts. I'd like to hear your story. My name is Alex Turner, and at 42 years old, I never imagined my own family would betray me in a way that would change everything. It started like any other Tuesday, the kind of day that feels so ordinary you never think it will change your life. The coffee maker hummed in the background. Bills sat in a neat stack beside my laptop, and Jason was at the dining table scribbling half-heartedly at his homework. I clicked through the usual list of expenses, the kind of mindless routine that kept my focus on the numbers, instead of the cracks that had been forming in my life. Then the notification popped up, and my stomach sank before I even opened it. Balance below minimum threshold. That couldn't be right. The college fund had more than enough in it. Years of saving, cutting corners, and promising Jason that no matter what happened, his future would be safe. My hands felt strangely heavy as I logged into the account. Maybe it was a bank error. Maybe it was a glitch. But the screen loaded slowly, painfully, and when it finally appeared, the number stared back at me like a cruel joke. 0. Not low, not almost empty, but completely drained. I blinked, hoping I was reading it wrong, but it stayed the same. My chest tightened as I pushed back from the table. "Laura," I called, my voice sharp enough to cut through the quiet hum of the house. No answer. "Laura." I tried again, louder this time, but the silence that followed was louder than any response could have been. I grabbed my phone and dialed her number, my fingers slipping against the screen from the sudden sweat on my palms. Straight to voicemail. I tried again, hoping to hear her voice, but it clicked to voicemail again just as quickly. My heart pounded, every beat echoing in my ears. I opened our joint credit card account, praying for any sign that this wasn't what I thought it was. But the transactions told me everything. Flights to Miami, luxury hotels, expensive dinners at restaurants we could never justify. My stomach churned as I scrolled through the list. And then I saw a name I didn't recognize, one she had never mentioned to me before. Damien. The living room felt smaller, tighter, like the walls were closing in around me. I set the phone down too hard, the sound startling Jason, who wandered into the room with an apple in hand. He took a bite, watching me as I tried to mask the panic twisting through me. "Where's Mom?" I asked, forcing my voice to stay even for his sake. "She said she had to go somewhere," he said with a shrug, chewing slowly, his tone too calm for what I was feeling. His eyes lingered on me longer than usual, as if he could see right through the forced calm I was trying to wear. That night, after Jason went to bed, I sat alone in the living room. The house felt too big, too quiet, like every sound was swallowed by the weight of what had happened. My hands trembled as I stared at the ceiling, my mind replaying every argument, every time Laura had brushed me off with a smile that now felt rehearsed. She hadn't just left. She had taken Jason's future, our future, and walked away without looking back. I didn't hear Jason until he was standing in the doorway, his small silhouette outlined by the faint light from his room. "Don't worry, Dad," he said softly, his voice calm in a way that felt strange for a 10-year-old. "I'll fix it." Then he turned and padded back to bed, leaving me staring after him, torn between disbelief and something I couldn't yet name. The house was quiet, almost unnervingly so, as Alex sat hunched over his laptop at the kitchen table. Jason had gone to bed hours ago, and the only sound was the faint hum of the refrigerator. But Alex's mind was anything but still. His eyes burned from staring at the screen, scrolling through page after page of financial statements, hoping against hope that what he'd seen earlier had been a mistake, a glitch, a banking error, anything but reality. But the numbers didn't lie. Every account told the same grim story. There were purchases he didn't recognize. High-end jewelry stores in Miami, boutique designer shops in New York, luxury restaurants that charged more for a single bottle of wine than their entire monthly grocery bill. Then came the name he couldn't ignore: Damian Cross. It popped up again and again in payment memos, in transfers, even in travel bookings, private charter flights, hotel suites with prices that made Alex's jaw tighten, and spa retreats booked under Laura's name with Damian listed as a guest. Alex stared at the screen, his stomach turning. Finally, he opened the shared savings account, the one that was supposed to be untouchable, the one they'd agreed was strictly for Jason's future. His pulse quickened as he scrolled back through the last 6 months. At first, the withdrawals had been small, almost unnoticeable. $200 here, $500 there. Then the amounts grew bolder. $5,000 and $10,000 until finally one massive withdrawal drained it completely. His eyes locked on the last transaction, his chest tightening as he read the description. Cashier's check, Damian Cross. She hadn't even tried to hide it. Alex leaned back, pressing his palms into his face. His breath came slow and uneven as the timeline began to assemble in his head, like shattered glass being pieced together. All the signs were there. Her new clothes, her sudden insistence on girls' weekends, her phone that never left her hand anymore. At the time, he'd convinced himself she just needed space, that after 15 years of marriage, people grew and changed. He'd even encouraged her to take time for herself, thinking it would make their marriage stronger. But Laura hadn't been finding herself. She'd been replacing him. Damian wasn't just a casual fling. This was calculated. She had siphoned their savings with precision, booked secret trips, and set up a life he was never meant to be a part of. And the worst part, she'd done it all while looking him in the eye every night at dinner, laughing at his jokes, tucking Jason into bed as if nothing was wrong. Alex felt his stomach twist, a hollow, almost nauseating ache spreading through his chest. This wasn't just betrayal. This was theft, of trust, of love, of everything they'd built together. A cold, focused anger began to replace the hollow ache in his chest. His fingers curled into fists against the table. Every part of him wanted to call her right now, to scream, to demand answers. But years of working in finance had trained him differently. Confrontations done in anger rarely ended well. He knew better than to go in unprepared. So instead, he reopened the laptop. This time, his movements were methodical, his breathing steady. He began downloading every statement, taking screenshots of every suspicious transaction, and saving them in a secure folder. Names, dates, amounts. He documented everything. If Laura thought she could destroy him quietly, she was about to learn how wrong she was. Then, just as he finished saving the last file, his phone buzzed on the table. The late-night ping made his heart jump. It was an email from their title company. Subject line: Joint property transfer, pending approval. Alex's jaw clenched as he opened it. The document was clear as day. Laura had initiated a request to transfer their house title into her name alone. She hadn't just emptied the accounts, she was erasing him from their life completely. He stared at the glowing screen, the reflection of his own face hard and unrecognizable in the glass, For a long moment, he said nothing. Then, in a low, controlled voice, he whispered to himself, "You wanted war, Laura. You just declared it." He closed the laptop slowly, the decision already forming in his mind. This wouldn't be a shouting match. This wouldn't be a messy confrontation in the middle of the night. No, this would be strategic, quiet, ruthless. For the first time all night, Alex's hands stopped shaking. He knew exactly what he had to do. The following days passed in a haze of quiet tension. Alex had perfected the art of pretending everything was normal, at least for Jason's sake. But something else began to tug at his attention. Jason, usually glued to his video games or sprawled on the couch with a comic book, had started disappearing into the garage for hours at a time. At first, Alex thought nothing of it. A 10-year-old boy looking for privacy wasn't unusual. But one evening, when he went to grab some tools, he noticed the change. The garage was no longer just a dusty space filled with bikes and storage bins. Whiteboards lined the walls covered in neat handwriting and strange flowcharts. Wires and small circuit boards were spread across a folding table and a laptop sat open, its screen flashing lines of code Alex couldn't begin to understand. Jason looked up when Alex stepped inside, his hands hovering over a small device made of wires and what looked like a portable hard drive. His face was calm, almost too calm for a kid his age. "What are you doing in here, buddy?" Alex asked carefully. Jason shrugged, keeping his tone casual. "Just school stuff, Dad. A project for science class." Alex's eyes lingered on the whiteboards. The writing didn't look like any elementary school science project he'd ever seen. Flowcharts labeled with words like bank routing and data access weren't exactly standard 5th grade material. "Science class, huh?" Alex tried to sound light, but suspicion crept into his voice. Jason gave him a small smile, one that felt practiced. "Don't worry about it. I've got it handled." Alex wanted to push, to demand answers, but he held back. Jason was smart, smarter than most kids his age, and Alex had learned over the years that his son would talk when he was ready. Over the next few days, Jason's questions grew increasingly specific. At breakfast, between cereal, he asked, "Dad, how do you even get into a bank account if someone changes the main password? Like, can you reset it with an email address?" Alex paused, his spoon halfway to his mouth. "Why are you asking something like that?" Jason shrugged. "Just curious. You work with money all the time. I'm learning stuff for school." Later in the car, Jason asked, "Do you and Mom have investments? Like, how do you track where the money goes? Does the bank keep records of who withdraws what?" Alex answered cautiously, keeping his tone neutral. "Yes, banks keep records of everything." "Why?" Jason didn't look at him. "No reason, just wondering how it all works." Each question left Alex with an uneasy feeling. Jason was curious, sure, but these weren't random questions. They were leading somewhere. That night, as Alex peeked into the garage again, he saw Jason scribbling furiously on the whiteboard, muttering to himself. His focus was intense, his brows furrowed in concentration. Alex felt torn, half proud of his son's brilliance, half worried about what he might be planning. 2 nights later, Alex stood quietly by the garage door, watching Jason work under the glow of a single desk lamp. The kid hadn't even noticed him come in. Jason was hunched over the laptop, typing fast. The screen flashed with what looked like banking software, though Alex couldn't make sense of it. Finally, Jason leaned back, staring at the screen with a determined look. His voice was low, almost like he was talking to himself. "You'll see, Dad. I'm fixing it." Alex froze, his heart twisting. He wanted to step forward to ask what Jason meant, but something stopped him. The resolve in Jason's voice was unlike anything he'd heard before. Hope stirred in Alex's chest, but so did a sharp pang of unease. Jason was brilliant, yes, but this was dangerous territory. Whatever he was doing in that garage, it wasn't just schoolwork. As Alex turned quietly to leave, one thought wouldn't leave his mind. Jason wasn't just a kid playing with circuits. He was preparing for something big, something that could change everything. It was early evening when Alex's phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. He glanced at the screen and felt a sharp twist in his chest. Laura. For a second, he considered ignoring it, but curiosity and a bitter need for closure made him swipe to answer. Her voice came through immediately, frantic and breathless. Alex, thank God you picked up. You have to help me. Damien's gone. He just left. My accounts are frozen. Everything's locked. I don't know what happened, but I can't get any money. And her voice cracked. I need help, please. Alex stood still, letting her words wash over him. There was no trace of the confident, secretive woman who had drained their savings. Now she sounded desperate, scared, and small. You need help, Alex repeated slowly, his tone flat. You emptied our accounts, drained Jason's college fund, tried to take the house out from under me, and now you want my help. Alex, I made a mistake. Damien said. Alex cut her off, sharply. Don't say his name like that makes any of this better. I just need a little money, she pleaded. I can fix this. I swear. Just until I figure out what's happening. Alex's grip tightened on the phone. You figured out everything just fine when you were stealing from us. Figure this out too. I'm not saving you. His voice was cold. Final. There was silence on the line for a moment, followed by a shaky breath. Alex, please, don't do this to me. Alex's jaw clenched. You did this to yourself. Before Alex could hang up, Jason appeared in the doorway, his face unreadable. Is that Mom? Alex hesitated, but Jason stepped forward, holding out his hand. Put it on speaker. Jason, you don't need to. Dad, speaker, Jason insisted, his tone firm in a way Alex had never heard before. Reluctantly, Alex pressed the button and set the phone on the table. Laura, Jason's here, he said flatly. There was a pause on the other end. Jason? Baby, I'm so sorry about everything. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I love you. You know that, right? Her voice was soft, almost trembling. Jason stared at the phone, his jaw tight. When he spoke, his voice was calm, but icy. You stole my future, Mom. The silence that followed was heavy. Laura finally whispered, Jason, You did, Jason interrupted, his tone sharp. You took my college money. You lied to Dad every single day. You chose Damien over us. Jason, it wasn't like that. I swear, she pleaded. I was going to make things right. Jason's eyes narrowed. You were going to make things right? How? By leaving us with nothing? By trying to steal our house, too? Jason, please, Laura begged, her voice breaking. I love you. I made a mistake. Damien, he tricked me. He said we'd be safe, that we'd be taken care of. I didn't know this would happen. Jason leaned closer to the phone, his expression unreadable. Don't worry, Mom, he said quietly, his voice turning almost cold enough to send a chill through Alex. Damien won't be around to hurt anyone anymore. Laura's voice rose in panic. Jason, what do you mean? What did you do? But Jason didn't answer. His gaze stayed locked on the phone, his face calm, controlled. Jason, Laura pleaded again, her words rapid now, almost hysterical. Please tell me you didn't. The line went dead. Jason had reached over and ended the call without hesitation. For a long moment, the kitchen was silent, except for the low hum of the refrigerator. Alex stared at his son, feeling the weight of what had just happened settle in his chest. Finally, he spoke, his voice low. "Jason, what did you do?" Jason looked up at him, his expression steady, almost unnervingly calm for a boy his age. Jason glanced at him, his expression unreadable. "Someone had to, Dad." Alex felt his chest tighten. For the first time, he truly understood that Jason might never see the world like other kids again. His innocence hadn't just been shaken. It had been replaced with something harder, sharper. As Jason walked back toward the garage, Alex stayed standing in silence, the weight of his son's words lingering in the air. The phone rang late in the evening, its sharp tone breaking the quiet of the house. Alex glanced at the caller ID and felt the familiar weight settle in his chest. Laura. He considered letting it go to voicemail, but finally answered, his voice steady. "Alex," Laura said quickly, her tone strained and desperate. "Please listen to me. I know you're angry, but I need you to understand. I didn't know Damien would do this. I didn't know it would end like this. I'm sorry. I made mistakes, but I'm still Jason's mother." Alex sat at the kitchen table, his jaw tightening. "You're only calling because you're scared. The charges are real, Laura. The money trail doesn't lie." "I'm not asking for me," she said, her voice cracking. "I'm asking for him. Please don't keep him from me. He's still my son." Alex stared at the wall, his tone colder now. "Jason doesn't need you. Not anymore. You made sure of that when you chose Damien over your own family." There was silence on the other end, a long pause before Laura spoke again. Her words soft, almost broken. "Alex, please." Alex ended the call without responding. He set the phone down, exhaling slowly. For a moment, he felt the faint echo of the woman he had once loved, but it was fleeting. Whatever they had shared was gone, and Jason was no longer the little boy who needed her. The days that followed were quiet, almost eerily so, compared to the chaos that had consumed their lives for weeks. Damien was in custody, his scams unraveling piece by piece under investigation. Laura's legal troubles were just beginning, and Alex received updates from lawyers confirming that their financial accounts had been secured. But life in the house had shifted in ways Alex couldn't quite describe. Jason spent most of his time back in the garage, his mind constantly working, sketching blueprints, soldering circuits, building gadgets with a focus that bordered on obsession. One evening, Alex stood by the doorway, watching his son work. Jason barely looked up, his hands steady as he adjusted a small drone he had been constructing for days. "You don't have to spend all your time in here," Alex said gently. "You're just a kid, Jason. You should be out with your friends." Jason glanced at him briefly, then turned back to the drone. "I don't mind, Dad. This is what I like doing." Alex hesitated before asking, "Why, though? Why keep pushing yourself like this, even now?" Jason stopped for a moment, setting down his soldering iron. His voice was calm. "Matter of fact, because if something's broken, I have to fix it. That's just how I think. If I can fix it, I should." Alex studied him, the weight of those words settling heavily. Jason spoke with the conviction of someone far older than his years, and it left Alex both proud and worried. Later that night, Alex sat quietly on a stool in the garage, simply watching Jason work. The soft hum of the soldering iron and the faint smell of heated metal filled the air. Jason's face was lit by the small work lamp, his expression focused and unyielding as he connected tiny wires inside the drone. Alex's chest tightened with conflicting emotions. Pride for his son's brilliance, gratitude for his strength, but also a deep, unshakable concern. No boy Jason's age should have had to do what he did, to think the way he thought. As Jason attached the final piece and the drone's lights blinked to life, Alex felt the words forming in his mind, heavy and honest. She tried to destroy us, he thought silently. But in losing her, I saw the son she underestimated, the boy who became our shield. Brilliant, unshakable, and maybe too cold for his own good.